maybe give some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Chances are you've already seen what happens next. Millions have. And some of you will have wanted to see the next part of the clip, where Charlie is actually murdered. And it's not because you're a bad person. You're just desensitized to violence. We all are. I myself watched the video by accident at the time and found myself disturbed, preoccupied by a question. How did we get to a place where millions of people, many of them children, can share footage of a murder and it all seem perfectly normal? Even in a modern time that often feels disconcerting and surreal, the murder of Charlie Kirk felt like a watershed moment. It felt different for a couple of reasons. The first is that it felt like we knew him. Political assassinations are not new, and we've sadly seen a lot in recent years. In the UK, 2 sitting members of parliament were murdered by extremists. The former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, was killed while out campaigning in 2022. And in 2011, member of the US House of Representatives Gabby Giffords was shot in the head while meeting constituents in Arizona in an attack that killed 6 people. We often see elected politicians through a different lens. At a distance, choreographed, sound bites at the ready. It never feels like we actually know them, but whether you liked Charlie Kirk or not, he was familiar in a different way. For years he was right there on our feeds, either destroying or being destroyed in debates according to your particular algorithm. In the aftermath, the media struggled to categorize him. A political figure, yes, but an unelected one. In reality, his success and fame came through his role as a content creator and podcaster. Uniquely 21st century professions for a man who reached international fame in his 20s. Seeing someone we know so well being brutally murdered was surreal. It was a level of violence usually reserved for the make-believe world of video games, and it came abruptly, like a jump scare in a thriller. The second reason it felt different was the immediate circulation of the footage afterwards. Like a digital virus, within minutes it was reproducing all over different platforms and messaging apps. Millions of nodes created in minutes and led by the young. It created a relationship inverted, where children and teenagers told their parents what had happened, complete with their prognosis having watched the footage. Sure, there was discussion of how shocking it all was, but not a serious one. And maybe that's because of society's implicit acceptance that the kids had probably already seen similar things online, or would soon enough. This is the reality 30 years after the first images started being embedded on web pages, and 20 years after YouTube revolutionized video sharing. But while it's never been easier or more acceptable to share violent imagery and videos, this didn't start with TikTok. The war on terror in the 2000s was the first digital war. Suddenly, grainy footage of Al-Qaeda executions started floating around the shock parts of the internet, or masquerading as Usher's new music video on LimeWire. Damn you, Confessions Part 2. Extreme violence became a plank of eclectic internet culture, alongside adult content and cat memes. Then, terrorism entered the iPhone and Netflix age. Like terrorists armed cum laude with an MBA in marketing, ISIS started posting glossy killings designed for popular consumption. It was a potent mix. Morbid curiosity, mixed with moral outrage, and the need for column inches, saw journalists recounting the videos blow by blow in their articles, which hardly dissuaded people from going to watch the real thing. Today, it's Ukraine, the Middle East, and a constant stream of other shareable violence that prompts furious speculation of what happened next to the guy in the video. Jail? Death? Impunity? A lot of this content can be readily available on mainstream websites, at least for a time. Then we have a thriving dark web catered to hosting this stuff. And the reality is that our morbid curiosity can metastasize into something worse. Habituation or desensitization is a well-researched phenomenon. It's how our reaction to extreme content decreases with exposure, so we end up needing the content to become more extreme to feel normal again. Psychologists call it emotional numbing, the same effect soldiers or ER doctors report. Whether it's violence or adult content, this escalation can end up drawing people to content that they never would have sought out at the beginning, pulling people further down the rabbit hole, until you catch yourself in a moment of self-awareness wondering what on earth you're doing. After all, you're taking your phone out to order gardening shears. A good question to ask at this point in the video is, so what? Even if we are becoming desensitized to online violence, does it have any impact in the real world? Studies are inconclusive, though have suggested that teenagers who consume the most violent media score lower on tests of empathy. Research from the University of Michigan found that college students exposed to violent clips were less likely to help someone in distress moments later. A look back to recent cases in the UK alone shows the potential for a link between content and action. Axel Rodakabana reportedly viewed violent content online prior to murdering 3 children in Southport. That included footage of a violent knife attack just minutes before leaving that day. The perpetrator in the Brianna Gay case reportedly admitted to watching a mixture of violent content on the dark web. I say a potential link because I don't think we have enough evidence to draw a hard line between cases such as these and what the perpetrators watched online. Ultimately, there are a lot of factors in cases like these, and I don't want to go full 1980s moral panic or make it seem like these people are any less culpable for their crimes. But I do think these are questions worth asking, especially since this doesn't cover evidence of increasing violence from other sources such as movies. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think it's good. Our ancestors saw horrible things, worse things. But even though your sartorial choices were severely limited in the 1950s, at least the immediate post-war was a brief moment in time where we actively tried to keep this imagery out of society. Today, it's ubiquitous, accessible, repeatable. The kind of imagery that used to be consigned to the memory of ex-soldiers and refugees. The question is how it will affect society as a whole. Whether we might be training ourselves to feel less. Whether we decide something needs to change. If you've ever caught yourself doom scrolling in this way, tell me what you think in the comments. Have you seen this type of content affect you? This video started with Charlie Kirk, so we should end with him. I didn't agree with decent chunks of his views, but saw lots to admire in someone looking to bridge society's divides by talking to his political opponents and challenging our modern echo chamber culture. I really hope that the images of his final moments fade from the public consciousness in favour of his life and work.